Welcome to CPEBR Talks. In these talks, you will see some interactive talks videos which involve some experts, learners, and specialists who discuss their research and publication experience during research topics and how they deal with roller coaster research process. You will also see some tips and tricks from the speakers on how to get your paper published. Enjoy!
Okay, welcome back to our channel, CPEBR Talks. My name is Imran Haider. I'm a research associate from the Center of Political Economy and Business Research, Faculty of Economics and Business, UniversitasAirlangga. Today, we are going to discuss some important topics for PhD students. As we know that many students now are busy preparing for their publications. They need to prepare many articles in order to get publication, and then they can graduate. There will be three topics that we are going to discuss in this video. The first one is preparing an article for to be ready for submission in the journal articles. The second one is how to prepare a good introduction, research motivation, and hypothesis development. And the third one will be the methodology, results, and conclusions. Today we are having Dr. Imran Haider from Curtin University. We will discuss about several things on how to prepare a good articles before submitting to journal articles. Thank you, Dr. Imran.
Thank you, Dr. Iman, for inviting me for this video.
Okay. Let us begin with the first topic. Do you have any specific tips for the students to get like more maybe R&R chance, revise and resubmit, and also acceptance later on before they submit the articles to journals?
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Iman. That is a very good point for the discussion today. Well, I will say that there are several important points which the students must consider right from the beginning till submission for the article journal publication purposes. And the very first one, I will say that the selection of the research topic. The research topic which is selected must be relevant and must be addressing an important issue. For example, if we are doing this research in Indonesia, and this research topic, this research question is really solving a real problem in the society, and that is relevant to the key stakeholders. And then this research topic, we need to choose the journal. Which journal is this related to? So this we need to consider, okay, this research topic will be most appropriate for submission in Asian Review of Accounting, or which other journal is this most relevant to? And then in addition to that, we also need to consider, we go to the next step. Is this going to be the qualitative research or quantitative research? So the research design, research methodology, the key instruments being used in the research paper that are valid instruments, that research methodology is appropriate. That is also an important point. Then it comes to writing every single part of the research article, like introduction, literature review. So when we are basically writing the introduction and literature review, that is very well written, clear, concise. We need to make sure there are no spellings, grammatical errors, easily understandable by the reader. And so when we are writing the literature review, we have covered all of the important literature which is relevant, and we are honest in writing the literature. We are not missing the important literature. And then it comes to writing the sample selection, why we are choosing, which sample selection we are choosing, which period is most important, and then data analysis, what data analysis techniques. I will say that writing from introduction until conclusion of the paper, the clarity and the conciseness is very important. And then the presentation of the paper, presenting the tables, presenting the variables, definitions, all the parts must be very clearly written, well presentable. So that will improve the quality of the paper.
Okay.
So yeah, what do you think? Am I on the right track what I said?
Yeah, I mean, maybe some students, maybe most students, they said they will think that if once they done the paper, it's ready for submissions. Yeah, but in I heard some researchers say that no, we need to share, we need to circulate our paper first, and to ask opinion from others, peers, or other. We attend a conference, and then after we feel that the paper is ready, then we can submit to the journal. How do you think about this?
Well, both ways should be appropriate. It depends on how much work has been done on the paper.
Okay.
If the paper is in the first draft,
Yeah.
I will say that of course this is not ready yet to submit to either any conference or any journal. If the paper is in its 15th or 20th draft, then of course it's ready to submit to conference, seminar, as well as for the journal publication purposes as well. But if you really want to get some feedback on your methodology, there is no harm in submitting the paper to some seminars where you can get some important feedback that can help to improve the quality of the paper. But what I was talking like earlier was writing, how to write the paper, and then the important thing is there should be very consistency in writing, clarity, all references or the relevant references are there. There is no mistakes in writing the references, and there is consistency in writing the results. The tables are formatted very nicely. For example, the decimal places in the tables given, correlation table, descriptives table,
Has to be consistent, right?
Should be proper consistency in there.
Yeah.
And the language written is very consistent. We are using the grammatical errors. There should be. We need to make sure there are not grammatical and other basic issues.
Yeah, very good points. Yeah, I think I do agree with all the things that you've said. Yeah. Okay, let's continue for the next one. We will discuss about more specific things on the introduction part and research motivations. Do you have any suggestion or ideas on what are the key points on having a good introductions and research motivations?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. Yep, I basically attended one. I remember I attended one seminar by Professor Gary Monroe from University of New South Wales,
Yeah.
and his seminar was really helpful. I do remember a few of the advices given by Professor Gary. Like when we are introducing our research problem, we need to make sure that set the scene, and we really start our introduction with the research problem.
Yeah.
And how we are approaching our research problem actually, then we need to briefly describe what has been done and what was found. So what after that, what problem we are solving actually. Then basically we can talk about a bit about the potential benefits of our research problem, how our research will benefit the different stakeholders in the society.
Do you mean contribution to the society, or yeah?
Yes, contributions. We can also talk about the contributions. So and I will say that an ideal introduction of a research paper should include the key research problem, what has been done in the past, what has not been done, and what we are doing, why is it important, why is it relevant for the different stakeholders and different users in the society, and what are the different contributions of our research problem. So then of course we need to talk about some other, like what is our research methodology, why we approach to this research methodology. We also need to talk about those things in the introduction part. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, another important point on the introduction part is about research motivations, right? Yeah, research motivation, it could be, from the anecdotal evidence, or the research gap and any other things that can develop the good research motivations. Do you have any suggestion on developing a good research motivation?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Imran. I think that is another important point to discuss. I will say that the research motivation comes from some problem in the society.
Okay.
The best motivation is there is some issue. For example, there is change in accounting regulation that will impact the accounting statements when we talk specifically about accounting research, and there is change in country level regulations, legislation that is going to impact significantly different stakeholders, that will change the presentation of financial statements, that will change the accounting numbers. The impact will be very significant. So we can test the impact of those changes happening in the society, or there is global financial crisis. So the basic thing is the motivation comes from some problem, and that's why we are doing research.
It has to be specific, right?
Very, very important. It's not just only what has not been done in the previous research. This is not just a basic gap in the literature. We need to see how that gap is important or not important. So if the gap is really important, that is addressing some specific issue, and of course then the research motivation is there, and that will come in the first part of introduction. First initial introduction section will talk why we are doing this research, why is this important, and why we assume, we theorize that there is some relationship between the variables here.
Last part for the second questions about the research hypothesis development. Any main points that you want to say?
Well, I will say that hypothesis development can be several different approaches to take it. For example, we of course need to identify the previous literature. So thank you. In terms of hypothesis development, I will say that listing the prior literature simply in different paragraphs does not really make sense. We really need to find some arguments, some theories why we are assuming some sort of positive or negative relationship between our research variables. So we need to find the arguments from the previous literature. We need to go to previous literature, critically review in a very positive manner, and then make some connection between our variables of study.
Do you think it's also important to have like a proper background on the context of the study? For example, like if I'm doing Malaysian study, I need to little bit explain about what is happening in Malaysia. Let's say sort of like institutional setting.
Yes, that can also go into hypothesis, but I think it's more related to introduction part, where we are motivating the study why we are doing this in Malaysia. But of course, yes, that makes sense in literature review and hypothesis development section as well. Yes.
Okay. For the third questions, do you have any tips on writing a research method, research results, and also the conclusion?
I think we should discuss a bit about writing the methodology part of the research paper, because that's really important, So in what I think in writing a good methodology is, again, the very first thing is writing very clearly. For example, what are our key variables? We need to define those variables very clearly, and if our methodology have been used in the past by previous literature, we need to refer it properly to support our methodology. It's a valid approach we are using. But however, if we are using some new methodology, then we need to prove it very clearly that how and why we are measuring our instruments. And then in addition to that, it comes to sample selection. We need to explain why we are choosing this sample, or even why we are using this approach, this methodology. Why is it samples period is relevant for the different stakeholders. So and then what type of data analysis techniques we are using, and why we are using these data analysis techniques. And we need to make very clear these all things, so that the reader have no doubts about our research methodology in terms of variables, in terms of analysis, approaches, and so on. And then when it comes to writing the results, again we have to be very consistent, and we have to be very careful in interpreting the results. We don't have to make the very strong statements, very strong statements. We have to be very lenient, and we have to be very, basically, I will say, rational and natural in writing the results. So when it comes to writing the conclusion section, we are concluding from the results, so we have to be very careful in concluding. We don't need to make very solid arguments, very solid conclusion. So conclusion must reflect truly the results what we have received, right?
So many students, this is what in my experience, many students only take some parts in the results and take some part from the introduction session, then they put it on the conclusion sides. So how do you think is the
thank you so much. Actually, I think that is not a very valid approach, just summarizing the results or the introduction part in the conclusion section. Conclusion is basically a summary what we derive from the results and what our results means, how we interpret the results actually. And when we are interpreting the results, we have to be very lenient and very careful. We don't have to make very strong statements, very strong arguments like what our results drive or make meaning for the society or different stakeholders. So I will say that the conclusion, when we are writing, we have to be very careful, and just we need to conclude only what our result means, what our results derive, but not more than that.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Imran, for staying with us, for sharing some tips for our students and also for all PhD students.
Thank you so much for your invitation, and I am very happy with that, your invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for watching this video, and keep updated with our channel for the latest video. See you.
CPEBR is a research center under Faculty of Economics and Business, UniversitasAirlangga, Indonesia. We do research on political economy and business topics, provide some scholarship for promising students, and publish scientific and popular articles.